Hello, beautiful people. How are you doing? It's been a while since I've had my face on here. Still recovering my voice, so going to try and make it short and sweet again. Today, I want to talk about how to not lose ourselves to others. And this can be, you can think about this really in any situation. I think we tend to lose ourselves more in relationship, in romantic situations, but it's also very easy to lose ourselves within our peer groups or at work with our boss, if you have one, and just in general in society, because we haven't been in a culture that has really honored, nurtured, nourished, respected, admired, encouraged for you to be you, for you to be authentically you. Our culture and our society is the complete opposite. It's like fit in. Everyone needs to wear the same clothes, have the same style, have the same trend, have the, if you just watch social media sometimes, it's just insane, the kind of the homogenization of humanity, that there isn't the same kind of uniqueness that there once used to be. And you can see that like in the fashion industry and in cars, the way, car models, and just everything has become very homogenized and everything looks the same. And so I'm just putting that as the umbrella, the context of that which we're in, which is your uniqueness and your authenticity and your originality is not necessarily something that is encouraged. And so what does that do to us on a deeper, more profound level, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually? I want to go further into this, but also give some tools, some thoughts. I'm not a kind of step one, step two, step three kind of person. It's more of an experience and an awareness of what do we need to do, and how can we be so that we don't lose ourselves in this instance. So let's dive in and see where it takes us. This is Corinne Bloom, and you're listening to Raw Conversations. I think I've had, if I speak personally from myself, because that's where I can only begin from there, and then I can go into what I've observed. I personally have had a very strong sense of self since I was very young. And I know that that's not always the norm. Some people will go their whole lifetime being like, who am I? I just asked myself that question from a very, very young age. And I think I came in with a kind of understanding of it. And I feel like that was designed in me so that I can really be of service to humanity, to go, okay, let's try and get all of us back home within ourselves, most especially in a society, as I said before, that is going to try and make you different than you are, that is going to force you to fit in rather than to really feel that true belonging as you are for who you are, and that is innately worthy, good enough, lovable, significant. So that's the baseline. But even with a strong sense of self, I have definitely observed how I get pulled, or this is more in the past because now I think I'm pretty solid in myself at this age, but how I would get pulled, or how I would compromise, or how I would put myself second, or how I would worry about maybe what other people expected of me, or wanted, or hoped, or thought, or there's all sorts of things that can come into the mix, right? And I think at the very like base of it, what we're looking for is, how can I feel what I'm experiencing in this moment? How can I feel into what's happening in the situation with the other, with others, with the environment? How can I be that kind of external witness that is observing my situation and not step out of myself in the process of it? I think when we say that we lose ourselves, is that we it's almost like our spirit body comes up and out of our body and goes into the other person, or goes into the environment, goes into the minds or the bodies or the hearts of other people, kind of trying to figure out, who am I meant to be? How should I be for you? Will you accept me? Will you validate me? Do I belong here? It's that deeper belonging. And the thing that I've said to people that I've worked with over the decades is that if I were to use a very, very practical little exercise, would be when you're with someone, somebody's in front of you. And I use this especially when I was doing a lot of relationship coaching, because it's very easy to lose ourselves on a date, in a relationship, especially if something is building. The simplest thing that I would say is feel your feet on the ground, because that very act of just bringing presence into feet to ground means I'm in my body. I have to be in my body in order to feel and be aware that my feet are on the ground, right? So there's little things like that, but the mastery in this is the self-awareness piece, is the witness and the self-observation, not from a critical standpoint, not from a like, what are you doing? You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have said that. That's a complete distraction. And that actually takes us into the mind and into the critic rather than really into the body. And how am I feeling? Now, here's the other little piece that is really important. And that's why doing the inner journeying is so important, is that it's not just about being present in my body and having the self-awareness and feeling what I'm feeling. It's having the language of my emotions to be able to understand what I'm feeling. That's the second part, right? So first is the self-awareness and the being aware of the feeling. Second is understanding, what is this feeling telling me? The third is, what do I need to give to myself so that this feeling feels, whatever it might be, comforted, validated, less alone, secure, good enough, worthy enough. Because if we don't do that, that is another trigger that pulls us out of our body into the other person. You give me the validation. You make me feel whole. You make me feel happy or good enough or worthy. Do you like me? Am I doing the right thing? Am I saying the right thing? All of these things are essentially coming from, if we haven't really learned to sit, I don't want to say learned, if we haven't taken the time to get to know our deeper inner self, our inner child, our wounding, our triggers, our fears, our traumas, all of those things. That is cultivating the language so that I go, oh, okay, when I feel this, I understand why I'm feeling this. And I also understand what I need to give myself to soothe that feeling. All of this allows us to stay within our experience, stay within our body, stay within the present moment without projecting to the other or stepping outside of ourselves and losing ourselves to the other, without going into the mind. And, so many people that I've spoken to that are on a date, for example, and I'm using relationship as an example because it tends to be the one that has the most trigger in there, just because it so deeply affects our inner child and all of the things that we're ultimately very scared about. Of course, it can come up with like authority, with your boss, with your colleagues, but I'm going to use romantic relationship, intimate relationship as an example, because I just think that brings out our greatest vulnerability. I've heard so many people that let's say their first date is more in they're inhabiting more their mind and thinking about what the other person is thinking about them. Does that make sense? And I always laugh and be like, oh, they're not even thinking about you. They're thinking about how you're thinking about them, right? Like both people often are doing that unless they're in a situation where they feel or with an embodiment where they feel, I'm comfortable as I am. There's nothing that I need to worry about. There's nothing that I need to hide. There's nothing I need to prove. And that allows us just to be within ourselves. And, I think one of the things why we're so drawn to authenticity in people is because people that can really be in their authenticity, they come across as confident. And the reason why they're confident is because they feel comfortable being who they are. And when they're comfortable being who they are, we are comfortable in their presence. And it gives us this invitation to come into the comfort of our own being, in the sense that it's okay to be you. It's okay, whatever you're thinking, feeling, or experiencing, it's okay to express how you feel. It's okay to share your thoughts, and they don't need to be perfect and fine-tuned and, genius level. And it's just like we get to be raw humans here. And ultimately, that's the connection that I believe that we're looking for, because there's relief in that kind of connection that says you get to just be you. You don't need to fit in. You already belong. You don't need to prove that you're worthy. You're already worthy. You don't need to fight for my love and acceptance of you, because you are already lovable and significant. So, as I'm constantly preaching about, the first step has to be spend time with yourself, get to know yourself, listen to yourself, stay with yourself. And what I mean by stay with yourself is that when the feelings and the thoughts and the fears and the concerns and the worries and the triggers and all of these things arise, don't distract yourself. Stay. Stay and listen with love, with patience, with compassion, with forgiveness, with gentleness, with kindness. Get to know the inner language of your being, your emotions, your feelings, the sensations in your body. You know, if I look at the Enneagram, we have everything within us, but we are in a particular triad and we land in a particular type. And based on that, we might be more, some of us are more feeling based, others are more instinctually based, others are more intellectually based. It doesn't mean that we don't have all of them. We want to have the holistic, we want the whole package, right? But where our behavior stems from, it's really important to know, am I more intellectually driven, instinctually driven, or emotionally driven? Just because then you know what to tend to first. And you also might know what your kind of the harder aspect, like people that are in the intellectual triad, it's a stretch to get into the emotional aspect of themselves, right? To feel their emotions, to stay. A lot of the time they're like, nah, I don't want to do that. I really don't want to do that. So yeah, it's important without any kind of judgment to just really get to know ourselves and excuse me, but fuck off whatever society tells you you should be. That's not what this experience is about. You are this unique blueprint and imprint of your soul signature, and you get to be that. Yeah, so they put us all in the same jeans and the same kind of cars and the same looking houses and, whatever the latest trend and fad is, just none of it means anything. Because now more than ever, we're needing to come into a time. It's not that we just get to come into a time where we get to be who we really are. We're needing it. If we want to create a better world, if we want to be discerning of all the bullshit that's out there, we need to be showing up authentically as who we are, because what that means is we're residing within our true selves. We're at home within ourselves. We're in a more loving, compassionate space with ourselves, because to be authentic, we have to be honest. And to be honest, we have to be real. And to be real, we can't hide and distract and pretend and, fall for the bullshit, right? And then in the authenticity, in the honesty, in the truth, in the rawness, in the presence that authenticity gives us, we become much wiser, because we remember who we are. We remember our instincts, our intuitions, our inner technology, our knowledge itself. That is, the gnosis, the inner knowing. We remember these things. We don't need to learn them. We remember them. And then it's much easier to navigate a world that is just like bleh, with illusion, delusion, manipulation, all of these things, right? Whether that's on a personal level where you see that with someone that's in your life, or you see that in the family unit or in the community, or, on the world stage, it's micro and macro, one and the same. So how do we not lose ourselves to others? We need to commit to ourselves and practice. It's a practice to understand and be observant of, why might I step out of myself? Why might I kind of go into self-doubt or self-deprecation, or, firstly, it's like looking at any of the beliefs that are keeping me from really just being like, it's safe to be me and it's okay to be me. and I can be me, and I can show up as me in any situation. And when I say show up as me, it's both the understanding of who I am, the understanding of the familiarity of who I am as a personality, but also what my soul essence is. Who am I as a soul? So it's deeply profound, right? It's a deeply profound question. It doesn't require an over analysis. We're past that paradigm. It requires presence and feeling. The only way we get to know is you have to stop and be still enough and listen and be in dialogue and conversation with yourself. Ask yourself questions, listen for the answers. It's so simple. I know I've said it before. It's so simple. It's not always easy because we've been so conditioned to do it differently. But it's so simple because it's literally just as you would want to catch up with an old friend, a really dear friend. What do? You sit on the couch, you have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or some people a glass of wine, and you have a good old chat. And you listen and you talk and you share. And if things come up, maybe you're there to give them a hug, or you laugh together, or you cry together, or you rage together, or whatever it is. You're there sharing yourselves, getting to know each other, listening, giving, receiving, this reciprocal, mutual flow of energy, this exchange of energy. It's no different with ourselves, with our soul, with source. You take it where you want to take it. It's all one and the same anyway. So it's super simple. The practice is keep on coming back home to yourself. And home is in the acceptance of all of who you are, with love, with compassion, with forgiveness, with patience, with kindness. It becomes much, much easier to not lose ourselves to others when we know I've got my back, not in a defensive way, but I'm here for myself, as myself. I'm not doing the judging. I'm giving myself the validation. I'm giving myself the comfort. Now, it doesn't mean that I have to be this lone wolf, that I have to do everything for me and I can't receive that from anybody else. No, that's like uber independence that is avoidant of any kind of intimacy and connection. But I know how to take care of myself first. It's the oxygen mask example, metaphor. If the cabin pressure drops, you need to put your own mask on first before you can help others. We have to tend to ourselves. We have to take care of ourselves. We have to show up for ourselves. Anything and everything that we would want somebody else to do for us, that is indicative of what we still need to do for ourselves. Then the receiving from others is so beautiful. And we can actually allow ourselves to receive it because we're not scared. We're not in that vulnerability that goes, no, I can't. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm going to be rejected. They're not going to want me. They're going to find out who I truly am. And it's going to be like, horror, right? I'm speaking quickly because I think many of you that are following know this already. Maybe not. And then here's the thing. When you build that, you flex that muscle more often of being observant of when you might leave your space and go into somebody else's. You're losing yourself to someone else. You don't reprimand yourself. You don't judge, oh shit, I did it again. God, I can't do this. This is never going to work. It's like, oh, no, come back. It's the same as in meditation. If you're focusing on the breath, for example, you focus on the breath, Oh, your mind goes somewhere else. Okay, bring it back to the breath. Oh, your mind goes somewhere else. Okay, bring it back to the breath. Always begin again. There's no failure in this. There's simply the remembrance to come back, the remembrance to come back, the remembrance to come back over and over and over again. And the more you do it, the more that baseline remains within yourself. Now, another piece that I want to speak to is it's very easy to lose ourselves when we take shit personal. And again, I'm going to use the example of dating, relationship. It's so easy, especially in this weird time where most people get to know each other via text. It's not in person. It's not even over the phone. It's not even sometimes with vocal messages. It's via text, which is just a disaster zone because there's no tone. There's no body language. There's no energy that you're picking up. There's so much projection that can happen where that even if somebody says something and they don't put an emoji at the end, you're like, ooh, are they mad at me? Are they pulling back? Are they not? There's so much projection. And in that projection, we lose ourselves. So the reminder that I offer to us all is, what if you began by not taking it personal? What if you could broaden your perspective to understand that this person is also having their experience? And so maybe they text you and there's no emoji, or maybe it's short and brief. And if I were to take it, if we were to take it personal, we could go into a whole story of how they don't like us, they don't want us. What did I do wrong? What's changed? This whole story, right? If you broaden out, go, oh, maybe they're not as affectionate in their communication right now because maybe they're having a really stressful day. Maybe they're overwhelmed. Maybe they're just in a mood, right? But like, what if you were to begin by not taking it personal and zoom out to a broader lens that can have compassion and understanding? We put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Now, of course, there are people that can just show up as, assholes. I was trying to find a better word for it. We all could be a dick sometimes, hopefully we've done enough work to know that we can show up kindly and honestly and truthfully, even if we're in a mood, even if we are having a bad day, that we can take self-responsibility. But there are people that don't have that awareness and that don't have that consciousness and don't have the tools to show up and to communicate well. And so, yes, of course, we have to be discerning. But again, I'm going to say that it's easier to be discerning when we're not in our own story, in our own shit, in our own wounding, in our own trauma, in our own projection. We can see things through a clear lens once we've done that and we understand what that is, so that we can go, okay, this is mine right now. I'm being triggered right now, versus, oh, they're doing this to me, right? The victim comes out. And we go into a whole story, into a whole projection. Do you know how many people get into arguments and even like pretend breakups because they misread a text? There was actually a really funny comedian. I wish I remembered his name. He does these skits. And it was shooting two different, like him and his mate, and they're both at home, but they're texting each other. And it was making a joke out of astrological types and how, I don't remember what the two, like Libra and an Aries or something, and how one of them is reading the text in a certain way and is like super relaxed. Oh yeah, cool. Da, da, da. And the other one is reading it going, what? Why is he saying that? I can't believe that. And he's having a whole argument with his friends simply because they're reading the context of the text in a different way, the tone of the text in a different way. And it's just such a funny and such a perfect example of projection. And projection comes through our perception, and perception comes through our beliefs. And so we got to get our beliefs straight and make sure that we're solid within ourselves, so that we don't lose ourselves to a fantasy or projection of a story that just does not exist. It's not true. It's not the reality. So there are all these other little fine-tuned things that we can think about to not lose ourselves to others. But, again, understanding our inner nature is the first point of contact, not taking things personal because we've done all of that work. I don't like using the word work. We've gained that knowledge about ourselves, that knowing. And then it's just this kind of this beautiful dance of, let's say if someone is really drawn to someone and maybe they even feel like they're falling in love, or, of course, those feelings take you kind of out of yourself, right? But those are the moments that are really important of like, okay, I have these feelings. I can feel the vulnerability. I can feel myself being pulled or drawn, but how do I equally stay here? How do I stay in my body? How do I tend to myself? How do I take care of myself? Am I making decisions that are compromising myself? Am I prioritizing my sleep, my health, my well-being? Am I still creating balance in my life? It's really easy for people to put everything on hold because they're in this love affair. It's like, no, keep yourself grounded. Take it slow. The same thing you could move this as a template for other things. Do you have a new job and your team or your boss or your colleagues you feel like there's a certain expectation and there's an excitement, but there's also a pressure and you need to perform and you need to show up. It's like, come back to yourself. Come back, bring your energy back into yourself. Show up as who you are. You don't need to perform. You don't need to prove. So whatever the context is, it might change things a little bit as far as what the driving motivation for potentially stepping outside of yourself and losing yourself might be. But the reminder is, how do I land back in myself? So presence, presence, presence. No matter what you're walking into, breathe into your body first. Connect with yourself. Check in with yourself. How am I doing right now? How am I feeling right now? Do I need anything? How can I support myself? That could be before anything that you do, before you even leave the house. Or when you wake up in the morning. Hey, how am I? How am I doing right now? How do I feel today? And to have those checkpoints throughout the day to remind yourself to come back, to tune in, to check in. Again, just like you would want your partner or somebody in your life to say, hey, how are you right now? How are you feeling? What's going on for you? So it's all about showing up for ourselves and not berating ourselves when we forget. And when we lose ourselves, the first point is awareness. So it's like, oh, I caught myself. I'm outside of myself. Okay, let me reel myself back in. And I'm not saying that you always have to be here and you can't go there. There's no rigidity around it. All of it is presence. All of it is self-awareness. All of it is that wherever you go, you're taking yourself with you in awareness. You're not abandoning yourself. That is the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that people experience when they lose themselves, is that they are abandoning themselves. It's okay to get lost in something sometimes. I'm not saying that you always have to be on it and in control, and it's as I said, it's not rigid. But wherever you go, there you are, with presence, with awareness, with care for yourself, to make sure that you're constantly going into like, hey, am I good right now? Do I need anything? And if it's like, no, I'm kind of losing myself, or I'm kind of going into, I don't feel so confident in myself right now, whatever it is, okay. Just be with that. Can that be okay? What do you need? What are you scared of? It's that loving, nurturing, I'm here for you no matter what. I'm here to listen to you. I'm here to give you as best as I know how and can what you need in this. But I'm giving you my presence. I'm giving you my loving attention. And you're not alone. So some tidbits, some food for thought. Again, I'm not a step 1, 2, 3 person. And I think if people are interested in doing this with a more structured sense, then you'd have to do a one-to-one session, because it's very personal to you. But I hope this is helpful. And as always, take it or leave it as feels right for you, and loving you from afar. Bye. Thanks for being here with me. You've been listening to Raw Conversations with Corinne Bloom. Thanks so much for showing up, listening in, and being a part of the conversation with me.